So we have Councillors Chalmers, Clark, Devlin, Councillor Dewar, Donnelly, Councillor Faulkner, Councillor Handibode, Horn. We have apologies from Councillor Hawes. We have Councillor Johnston Dempsey. We have Councillors McCreary, McLachlan, Councillor Ross, Councillor Thompson and Councillor Tona, and we also have a number of officers present as well. Thanks, Chair.
She just said that she can't join in a message here.
Thanks for that, Leslie MacDonald. Okay, thanks for that, Laura. David. Have we any declaration of interest? No, no declaration of interest. Number 2, minutes of the previous meeting, pages 3 to 6, submitted for approval. Minutes, we can approve the minutes. I'll approve them, agreed, thank you. Items for noting. We have a presentation delivering a lasting impact. Routes to Work South presentation. Nicola McNaughton to speak. Nicola, thank you.
Good afternoon, councillors. I'm delighted to be with you today, and I'm joined by my colleague Julie Davison, Operations Manager, who I'm actually going to swiftly hand you across to, because Julie has the pleasure of delivering today's presentation to you all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Julie.
Good afternoon, everyone. 2025 is a special year for Routes to Work South as we celebrate our 20th birthday. Therefore, today's presentation will focus on 20 years of delivering a lasting impact. So for the last 20 years, Routes to Work South has focused on alleviating poverty by supporting the people of South Lanarkshire to progress into sustainable employment, whilst also supporting local businesses to grow and develop. As an arm's length organisation of South Lanarkshire Council, Routes to Work South continues to provide best value through the delivery of community-based services which are closely aligned to various council strategies, including the 2022 to 2027 Connect Plan and the Child Poverty Action Plan. Next slide, please. Our journey over the last 20 years has been one of remarkable progress, and key achievements have included establishing a strong delivery footprint across South Lanarkshire through the creation of centralised hubs in each of the 4 main localities, developing and delivering services in conjunction with our partners to support marginalised client groups, and winning multiple awards, including the Regional Best Recruitment Business Award, and most recently, the prestigious SURF Award for removing barriers to employment. And we've secured over £8 million of alternative funding to support the creation of new and additional services. So throughout it all, Routes to Work South has assumed the role of the honest broker while connecting opportunity with need. Next slide, please. Routes to Work South has been making a difference to local people since 2005. And over the last 20 years, we have provided support to over 36,000 South Lanarkshire residents. Investment in infrastructure has enabled us to provide quality facilities that improve access to services for local residents. The investment of over £8 million has enabled us to train 19,500 local people to meet labour market demands. Over 17,000 of the people supported by Routes to Work South have moved into employment, and this equates to 3 people every single day, highlighting the scale and impact of this achievement. Next slide. For more than 10 years, South Lanarkshire, highlighted in blue on the graph, has consistently been the best performing local authority across Glasgow City region, and Roots to Work South's achievements have been a key part of this, contributing to high levels of positive outcomes and improved school leaver destinations. Next slide, please. Post-pandemic, our operating environment has changed significantly, and in the last 2 years, investment in employability in Scotland has reduced by 23%. In stark contrast, there has been a significant increase in those economically inactive and people seeking health-related benefits, resulting in increased welfare spending. This growing imbalance continues to present many challenges, including reduced pathways into employment, increased public spending and poverty, skills shortages, increased inequality and reduced business growth. In response, we've considered how we could remain focused on our purpose of alleviating poverty whilst continuing to respond to local needs, and in doing so, we have created WIN, What I Need in Life. Next slide. Economic inactivity is at the highest it's been since 2004, with welfare spending projected to increase to 100 billion per annum by 2030. This is twice the current defence budget. National data reinforces the need for innovative, joined-up approaches, and WIN offers this through early engagement at community level, offering clients a lifeline of coordinated wraparound support. Launched in October 2024, WIN is a self-funded pilot programme covering 2 SIMD areas, Rutherglen and Blantyre. It's been co-designed with clients and adopts a whole-person approach, incorporating physical, emotional, mental and social aspects while removing barriers to progression and enabling meaningful participation through collaborative working with our established network of partners. It's delivered by our community wellbeing advisors and offers a personalised, non-clinical support to help clients overcome barriers, reduce isolation, build trust, and empower them to take positive steps to achieve long-term change. Next slide, please. During the pilot phase, the programme has delivered positive results, proving that this type of innovative, person-centred, needs-led intervention can address non-engagement, remove barriers, and positively change lives. In July 2025, the Scottish Government visited Roots to Work South to learn more about the WIN model, and it has sparked discussion about how the WIN approach can be delivered at scale and be replicated in other local authority areas as a model of good practice. Owing to the success of the pilot, and with the support of South Lanarkshire Council, we are now preparing to roll out the service to other areas of South Lanarkshire. In addition, we are also progressing the development of WIN Rural, which will include a strong third sector partnership delivery model, including Roots to Work South, Vaslan, Clydesdale Community Initiatives and Healthy Valleys. WIN continues to have a profound impact on the clients participating in the project, and this was recognised in December 2025 when the project was announced as the winner in the Removing Barriers to Employability category by the Deputy First Minister at the SURF Annual Awards Dinner. Next slide, please. So looking ahead, our focus is on strengthening our pathways into work and investing in people and infrastructure. This includes the creation of a youth and wellbeing hub in Cambuslang, named The Pod, Pathways, Opportunities and Development, supporting those that are aged 18 to 24 or individuals with health conditions. The pod will partly address the impact of the Cambuslang Job Centre closure, and by working in partnership with local communities will help develop innovative services to tackle poverty and ensure South Lanarkshire continues to thrive. Next slide. So I'd just like to thank everyone for listening and open the floor for any questions, thoughts or observations. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Julie. Have we any questions, observations? Bert Thompson.
Thanks very much, Chair. Just a quick couple of observations points there. Is this project it looks a really good idea. Is it sustainable? Are we guaranteed funding and how long for? But the management setup, are we top heavy, just about right? How do you feel about that? Another one's about mental health. I know somebody that's came to see me recently. Anxiety and mental health problems. Another since 16, and they're now 40-year-old. How are we missing people? How can we publicise things better? Because I feel there are people out there that still need to get an outreach to. Thanks, Chair. Thank you.
Thanks. Nicola.
Hi Bert, thanks for your questions. Firstly, as highlighted in the presentation, we rolled this out initially as a pilot project, self-funding, and with the support of the council, as Julie has highlighted, we will now look to take that forward. We will now look to take that forward and roll it out into other areas. We are also exploring other opportunities for funding because, like the question you've asked, we are interested in the sustainability, so is that it's not just a one-off programme that runs for a year or 18 months and then disappears. We've been able to demonstrate the impact of it. And I think it's really important the point you raise around engaging with those people that are economically inactive or those further removed in terms of mental health and stuff like that. Right now, the project has been really small scale because it has been self-funded with 2 staff, 2 community wellbeing advisors. Our intention is to grow that to 4. And effectively start to roll it out into areas such as Hamilton and Larkhall, which would be obviously of interest to this area committee. With regards to the question around the participant you referred to in relation to mental health, I completely agree with you. We use a variety of different mediums to try and communicate. We use social media, we communicate through our partners, we use our website, we push out surveys, we encourage recommendations, and also we get a lot of referrals through word of mouth, but we continue to try and adapt and evolve how we approach that. For instance, more recently we've been looking at the creation of TikTok videos so as that we can target the younger audience, and similarly we'll be looking at how we do that for maybe older and similar to the customer that you've highlighted. We also have connections with NHS improvement teams and stuff like that, and we're promoting our services and doing a lot of joined up work through that. So we're hoping that that will continue to get the word out to the right people. And failing that, you know, we operate a very open door policy, so as long as people want to come forward and engage our services, we're happy to make that commitment to support them.
Right. Thanks for that. Okay. Councillor Mary Donnelly.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to welcome your programme. I think you do an amazing job. And just for clarification, there is a few hubs around in Hamilton, like in Burnbank, and do Routes to Work, are they there with the computers helping people to have a wee look at jobs that maybe be an offer for them? And if not, it would be good that you are coming to those hubs. I mean, there's through Community Links in Burnbank and in Hillhouse. So it'd be great to see somebody there. I know there is somebody there, but I'm not sure if it's coming through your routes to work or if it's through Community Links. But I think it's an avenue for you because I think it would be welcomed by the community groups on the days that they're there. That would be really, really nice. And I welcome the pilot going forward because there is a problem for people getting to that level of getting their CV ready, getting themselves ready, maybe even having the outfit to go for an interview. All of that is holistic work that you do, which is vital to getting them to the front door of going in for an interview. So they've got the prospects of going and finding a positive destination. So that is the groundwork that is absolutely vital. Whether it's mental health, whether it's because I've been at home looking after my children, and they're now growing up, flown the nest, and I've maybe want to get back to work, or it's just an economic reason why they need to get back to work. Benefits not the answer. They do need to work, and I think we do want an economic. We do want a society that is working, and if we are needing to look at full employment, and we need that engagement where we've got organisations like yourself that is going to help in that process to get people back to work. But it's not an easy one. You can't just go and, it's Citizens Best. The job centre isn't the first stop. It's not the be-all and their attitude towards people isn't always the best. And I'm sorry if I'm saying that, but people find that's hostile to them, and they need a more softer approach to help them in there, to gain that confidence and that ability to go forward and have that ability to go forward and say, yeah, I'm going to go for that job. But again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for all the work that you are doing and the people you are helped.
Thanks for that, Mary.
Thank you, Councillor Donnelly, for your question. Roots to Work South, our team are out in Hamilton area. We do believe in getting into the heart of the communities and offering that concentrated engagement approach through getting into community centres, reaching out to partners, local charity organisations and getting into the hubs. At the moment, we are in St Mary's Church in Hamilton. We are also in the library to reach people and make our services most accessible, and we also co-locate in an office with Skills Development Scotland in Hamilton. In terms of the services that we offer all of that which you mentioned. We offer that employability support, but we also work with our partners to offer mental health, interventions to build confidence, help people with their personal development goals, build that skills and training. So we are providing that in Hamilton. And you mentioned as well just about people having appropriate workwear. Just wanted to mention that we also have our own dressing room, which is in our offices in Cambuslang and East Kilbride, that provides people with that workwear before they're going to interviews or alternatively starting employment as well. So the full kind of package is there, from the engagement to the referral to then kind of signing up, and we offer that holistic approach through our key worker or advisor model, so that we can build those connections that suit the clients and then help them progress with whatever they need and those barriers, so that they can progress into a positive destination. And I hope, it was quite a lot, the information that you shared there, so I hope that I've answered everything that you were asking or commented on. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. Councillor David McLachlan. David.
Right. Thanks, Chair. It was on the question about the comment you made about the 23% reduction in funding post-COVID. Has that been gradual since that period, and if so, how much has it been each year, and where does the funding directly come from?
Hi there.
Hi.
Thank you very much for your question. I do not have the breakdown year on year to hand. I actually have it back in the office, and I'm more than happy to reach out and provide that information to you. Certainly post-meeting, the vast majority of our funding either comes from, as you know, Scottish Government or UK funding. The 23% reduction, and the reason we've been able to quantify that is from a report published by Scottish Government several months ago, that clearly shows the difference in the investment. And I think obviously touching on the what Julie has highlighted in the presentation, we have a real balancing act to achieve now, because against a backdrop of reduced funding, you know, we're starting to see creepage in unemployment levels, but equally we're starting to see significant rises in people claiming obviously health-related benefits and economic inactivity. And actually our experience is that if you see the person and focus on what they can do rather than they can't, there is a proportion in there that actually genuinely do want to work. But enable us to do that, we need that continued investment.
Supplementary, Chair.
Okay.
You know, that's a significant number, 23% over quite a short period, and it's bound to impact on your service. But how long do you think the service can continue to be sustainable, given the rate of the reduction in funding? Or are you confident that you're able to continue providing a good service?
I think that obviously, as we've highlighted, we have been delivering services for 20 years. Throughout those 20 years, we've come through periods, I would describe them as cycles, where exactly what you're describing, there's been reductions in funding, but equally there's then been and there's been fluctuations in funding, and largely that's dictated by changes in government, changes in focus, and by what the data tells us. In terms of the service that we deliver, you know, our results speak for ourselves in terms of the thousands and thousands of people. So, you know, we're there and we're ready to do it. Obviously, if there's less funding, what it means is we have to cut our cloth accordingly, and what that does mean is where we would maybe help a couple of thousand people every single year in terms of engaging in our service, that might limit that to being 1,000 people, but we will adjust that. But obviously, the impact that has is both in terms of local people and local businesses, because part of what we do, we have an established employer services team, and they work with employers around fair work principles, creating jobs for local people, but equally where that money goes down, there's maybe a reduction in investment to do sector-based route ways that gives customised training pre-entering employment and stuff like that. So we're always looking at ways to be innovative in our approach, but also to deliver best value. And at the end of the day, it comes down to, you know, what is our annual budget, and we need to work to that. And as I say, that will limit the number of people that we can help in any given year.
Thanks very much. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks to that. Councillor Maureen Chalmers.
Thank you, Chair. Hi, thanks very much, both for your presentation, for all the information you've provided, and well done on delivering over 20 years, and for the recognition that you've rightly received as well. I was just wondering a wee bit about, because you've got really good stats that you presented today around about the success of people coming through your programmes. I was wondering if you've got any learning around the demographics. I mean, we know national trends and we know that kind of information, but demographics and also the drivers behind people that become long-term unemployed locally, because you've got that more granular information. I mean, we know the kind of trends around health and everything. I'm just wondering if you've got anything specific that you would highlight in terms of the drivers behind people becoming long-term unemployed. And I'm just wondering, just talking about funding there, if you're anticipating any impact on the ending of the UK shared prosperity funding to your service. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Maureen.
Hi there, thanks so much for your question. So to answer that in terms of the demographics behind more people coming economically inactive, so what we are finding is that more and more people are becoming more long-term unemployed. So when people are moving into the work, there's a number of different reasons for the economic inactivity. and they mainly come down to caring responsibilities. So that's a massive reason that people are economically inactive. So people obviously have like parental caring responsibilities or even family caring responsibilities. We also have people with health conditions that I know that everybody's aware of, but more and more people are experiencing health conditions in work and leaving work through their health conditions. And then when that kind of support's not in place, and then when they're leaving the workplace, and the longer that people are economically inactive or have those ongoing health conditions, whether that's physical or mental health conditions, and the supports that isn't in place, the longer that they're out of work, then that has that knock-on effect. Because I know in terms of the statistics that Scottish Government shared with us, I think it was 1 in 18 people are more than likely to be 12 months unemployed if they're economically inactive. You know, because and that number just gets greater and greater with the length of time that they're kind of not had any of that ongoing support. So early intervention is key for those that are economically inactive, and that early intervention is looking at that support while people are in work, and then the early intervention once they kind of move out of work as well. So the quicker that we can engage with people and provide that ongoing support, signpost them into appropriate agencies, you know, engage with our partnership network, and also as well provide that ongoing advice and guidance can really support people to prevent those national statistics and that early prevention. So, and you'll be aware of the types of conditions that people are experiencing more. It's more those hidden health conditions that aren't, you know, we are getting better about talking about mental health as well, but there is a lot of kind of health conditions that aren't seen, and the same support isn't there from, you know, our external organisations as well. And I'll pass you to Nicola for the funding question.
Hi Maureen, good afternoon. One thing I would add around the economic inactivity, I know you asked a question around the demographics. In terms of the pilot delivery of WIN, we focused on Rutherglen and Blantyre initially because the information that we had, obviously it was based on them being SIMD areas, so there was high levels of poverty and deprivation, but also the data that we had suggested there was high levels of economic inactivity. Through the work that we've been doing in the background in preparation for rolling it out to other areas, what that data is now telling us is there's significantly high levels of economic inactivity in Larkhall. I touched on that earlier, and that is really where we are with WIN as a service, because it's about responding to customer needs. We recognise, you know, within budget capabilities and resource, we can't possibly service every area in South Lanarkshire, but it's about looking at what communities need and what's most important to them, and obviously responding to that. So that's maybe a little nugget of information that might be quite useful for you. With regards to UKSPF, yes, some of the funding that we've received through the council in previous years for the delivery of our services has came through UKSPF, and obviously that is coming to an end. My understanding is there's talk of a replacement through the growth fund, but there's various discussions ongoing. And it's not quite clear what that will look like yet, whether or not it will be dealt with at a regional level or national, etc. And we're just really waiting for that to kind of filter through to us to see if we will be able to access obviously that growth fund through the council.
Thanks very much, both. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for that. I don't see any other further questions. Could I just ask one? Do you have link up with the West of Scotland University and Lanarkshire College for them to run courses that might be appropriate
Yes, we do. We work quite closely with further education organisations, and actually what Julie touched on earlier around the pod delivery in Cambuslang, one of the partners who's involved in the delivery is actually South Lanarkshire College, so that we can offer a drop-in service to those customers, and it's a whole wraparound service, you know, including yourselves, including SDS, DWP, the college, so it's very much a one-stop shop. So there's different approaches we take in different areas, but we maintain that regular contact, and it's part of effectively a LEP offer that we all work together.
Okay, thanks very much for that. We don't have any further questions. The committee agree to note the report? Agreed, thank you. Right, ladies, thanks very much for that. If you're willing to leave just now, you're more than welcome to stay if you've other... Thank you very much. We're going to item 4, Chartler Road Country Park, the master plan 7 to pages 7 to 10. Pauline Crisp to speak. Pauline.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, councillors. The purpose of this report is to update members on the work undertaken to develop a master plan for Chartler Road Country Park, providing a strategic approach for development and investment over the next 10 years. In 2024, following a competitive procurement exercise, Enterprise and Sustainable Development Services appointed Turner & Townsend Project Management to assemble and lead a multidisciplinary team to undertake a master planning exercise for both Chartler Row and Calderglen Country Parks. In consultation with the Council and South Lanarkshire Leisure and Culture, the design team were asked to develop a suite of strategic documents and supporting intelligence, including master plans and Green Book business cases for both Chartler Row and Calderglen, setting out the context for development over the next 10 years. Forestry management plans are also being updated for each park to ensure effective planning and help protect historic features, sensitive habitats and special landscapes for the enjoyment of visitors. The consultancy work was fully funded by the UK Shared Prosperity Fund. Consultation has been ongoing throughout the development of the master plans, including 2 rounds of public engagement in the summer of 24 and again in the summer of 25. Workshops attended by colleagues from across the Council and South Lanarkshire Leisure and Culture on topics including heritage, woodland management, branding, commercial opportunities, risk, location and access. Intelligence gathered from this wide-ranging consultation and stakeholder engagement, together with input from the multidisciplinary team, has informed the development of a set of investment proposals for Chartler Row Country Park set out in section 5. You'll see the architectural interventions proposed include enhancing the visitor centre, including the reconfiguration of the arrival space and transformation of the cafe, exhibition and conference area with a new rooftop orangery, as well as repairs and upgrades to the Grade A listed hunting lodge. Landscape interventions proposed include enhanced paths and landscapes surrounding the visitor centre and central facilities, expansion and upgrade of the existing adventure playground, and formalising the car park, the overflow car park, including drainage and electric car charging. Infrastructure interventions include power, water, Wi-Fi infrastructure distributed around the park for events, and include the addition of a new gatehouse incorporating toilets, community room and shop. And finally, a further infrastructure investment could potentially be the reinstatement of the White Bridge. The delivery of these investment proposals is very much dependent on the availability of funding. The Council will use the master plan and investment proposals to actively explore and pursue external funding opportunities as they become available. As the proposals are implemented, it is anticipated that the overall sustainability of the park will improve, supporting ongoing investment in other areas of the park over time. Additional improvements may include signage, public art, and the wider path network. The Council's budget for 25-26 included an allocation of £800,000 towards the reinstatement of the White Bridge, Chartler Row's Phase 1 project. In addition, Facilities, Waste and Grounds colleagues have a budget of £200,000, giving a total budget for that Phase 1 project of £1 million. It should be noted, however, that the White Bridge project is still in the early stages of development, with the project scope, cost and viability being determined. There are a number of technical issues challenging this project, including new regulations imposed by the Scottish Environmental Protection Agency, which the team are working through. With that, I'll refer you back to the recommendations in section 2, that it be noted that the Community and Enterprise and Resources Committee approved the strategic approach for development and investment at Châtellerault at its meeting on the 7th of October 2025. That it be noted that a series of investment proposals have been identified to deliver beneficial and impactful improvements to Châtellerault, for which external funding opportunities will be sought. And that it be noted that investigations are underway to establish the deliverability of the identified Phase 1 White Bridge project. Thank you, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Hello. Hello, Alan, can you hear me? Hello.
Can hear you.
Thanks, Alan. This thing's been going haywire all day, isn't it, me? I can assure you. Just a quick question. I was encouraged there what I heard, and obviously it'll bring a lot, I think, tourism and football to the area. But the one I didn't hear that I'd like to hear is about inclusion. What about a piece of equipment or a few pieces of equipment for kids with disabilities? Is that planned, or are you going to be looking at that? Thanks, Chair.
Pauline.
Thanks for that. So the expansion of the play area, which is mentioned as a key priority for the master plan, includes the purchase of new equipment and the expansion of the area. I would anticipate that when we get to that point when we've got money to invest, that all matters regarding inclusion and accessibility to ensure that the play area works for our whole community is considered.
Okay, thanks for that. Councillor John Ross.
Yes, thanks very much, Alan, and obviously I welcome the report as I did at the last committee. There was just one point on page 9 under 5.3. It talks about a signage strategy. Now, obviously, I'm up the park quite a lot. Last year I was up and I met some people who were discussing the park and how South Lanarkshire had vandalised the park by removing all the fir trees. And I had to explain to them the long-term strategy of returning the park to native woodland and the benefits that would bring. Is there any chance when we are supplying signage that we could perhaps have an overview of what the council's intention is for the park and just a wee bit of a story about what we're hoping to achieve here, rather than people who turn up and think that we've vandalised the park, and give them an overview of what we want to do. Thanks very much, Alan.
Okay, thanks, John. Pauline.
Thanks, Councillor. That's a really good point. So at the moment we're in the process of establishing a specific website for the country parks. And I think what you've suggested there in terms of helping our communities understand the investments that we're making and the changes, which might not seem easily to understand in terms of, as you said, the changes to the woodlands. I think that's an opportunity for us to include that information there so that folks understand why we're doing what we're doing, where we're investing, and why that's the right thing to do. So yes, we'll certainly take that into consideration.
Okay, thanks for that. Okay, John. Councillor David McLaughlin. David.
Thanks, Chair. Camera at the wrong seat. Again, I welcome this report, as others have, very much so. In particular, the White Bridge being replaced. That's something many years ago when I used the park for cycling and things like that. and it's missed because it's out of commission, so that's very much welcome. And I think John Ross made a very good point there. I've heard people comment on the fact that these trees have been taken away, but it's useful if people understand why that's the case, and it's to restore the park back to its sort of more natural woodland area rather than planted pine trees, which isn't the natural habitat for that area. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thanks for that. Okay. Councillor Colin Dewar.
Thanks, Chair. As others have intimated, I welcome this report. When it was presented at Community Enterprise, already asked a few questions. I won't go over them again, other than to welcome that the proposals, investment proposals, are very much sensible and very welcome in terms of driving investment and the footfall to the park going forward. The other thing that I can possibly think of seeking an update on would be if there's any update in terms of a start date for work on the White Bridge. I know it was intimated it could have been spring 2026, and if the issues with access to the site that was mentioned by Alison Brown at Community Enterprise have been overcome. And the only other question I've got is if there's been any work to see if there's any community interest in setting up a group for the community to feed into the options that are within the master plan. Thanks.
Okay. Pauline.
Thank you for that. So in terms of the White Bridge, first of all, as you know, from Community and Enterprise Resources Committee and Alison, our Head of Services response at the time, you'll understand it's an incredibly technically challenging location, and we are facing a number of environmental, engineering and access issues. Some of those have interdependency, so we can't resolve one until we resolve the other. So it is a really kind of technical issue or issues which are being worked through. So I can't give you a date at this time as to when work will commence. However, I believe Community and Enterprise Resources, our Head of Service, committed to bringing back another paper to provide an update. And I can't give you a date for that right now either, but that's certainly still the intention. And in terms of, yes, the kind of stakeholder groups, or yes, that's certainly an intention as well. As we get to a point where these proposals are being developed, at the moment they're really at a very, very early stage. It's a kind of vision statement almost in terms of what we would like to see happen in the park. When we get to a position where proposals have been taken forward because we have line of sight on funding opportunities, we will absolutely be, thoroughly engaging, fully engaging with our communities and with other stakeholders, to ensure that their voices are heard and form part of the kind of the detailed project development at that time.
Thanks for that, Pauline. I don't see any further questions. Does the committee agree to note the report? Okay, thanks very much, Pauline, if you wish to leave the meeting. Yep. Thank you. We go on to item number 5, Housing and Technical Resources Participatory Budget Update, pages 11 to 16. David Edgar to speak. David.
Good afternoon, councillors. My report is intended to give a brief update on the work carried out by officers across the Hamilton Division for participatory budgeting activities in the current financial year. A key element of this budget relates to our estate improvement budget. My report notes that this budget totals £40,000 and is split evenly across the 4 housing divisions. However, I can advise that since this report was finalised, we have been notified that this budget has now increased to £80,000 effective from this financial year. Each local housing management team can direct funding towards projects or improvements highlighted as a priority to our customers. Although this is a limited value, the budget is ideally suited to participatory budgeting approach, as it often funds a number of smaller scale projects that are important to local residents and affect their quality of life. In terms of progress with our estate improvement budget to date, £7,776 has been spent in the Hamilton Division during this financial year on the following projects. In response to feedback from residents at Meikle Road about an area of common land that was being used to dump unwanted items, a new gate and fencing was installed to prevent access to this area. Following contact from residents at Furness Road and Quarter, fencing in an area of housing land next to the play park was renewed. Also, in response to discussion with residents at the Duncan Graham Street area in Lark Hall, work was undertaken to remove some overgrown trees, tidy the area and provide new secure fencing to improve the overall look of the street. Also, following feedback from residents within the Old Town area of Hamilton, fencing at a pathway on housing land was replaced between Castle Street and Grammar School Square area. And finally, in response to problems highlighted by local residents at William Drive and Jeanette Avenue about persistent fly tipping, a bollard was installed to prevent access to this area to vehicles. I'd also like to highlight the photographs that are contained within pages 13 to 16 about this particular project and some of the joint working that was undertaken as part of this, this activity, because as well as us installing the bollard, we reached out to our partners to ensure the community payback team tidied up the area, removed weeds, debris that were lying about, some fly tipping items. So as well as us undertaking the work to prevent access, the area was tidied, and I think you can see that there was good work undertaken there to improve the look of that location. So obviously we've still got some budget to spend for an estate improvement budget, and there's two activities which we're still finalising before year end. Project number 1 relates to works being carried out to do one-off close cleaning at the block of flats at Glasgow Road in Hamilton. Our local housing officers working directly with a number of residents within these blocks to get these works carried out, and then also ensure that there's rotas in place that are strictly monitored following this so that that standard is maintained. And then the final project, and this is due to the additional funds, we are now pursuing costs for bin replacements across two areas, Edelwood and properties in Blantyre. And this is looking at targeting areas where we have high expenditure due to contaminated bins. It has an effect on the look of the area, can cause issues also with vermin, and it's been highlighted by residents as priorities. So we're looking to ensure that these projects are carried out by the end of March so that we fully allocate our budget for this year, and I'm confident that we'll do this. In addition to this, engagement with tenants on the overall housing revenue account budget for the current financial year took place as part of our annual resource budgetary consultation process, and this included a series of focus groups, meetings with customers and an online survey that received 1,335 responses. The environmental aspect of the housing improvement programme is a significant budget area that covers a wide range of projects that seek to improve the quality and energy efficiency of the Council's domestic housing stock. Examples of projects within this budget area can include replacement doors and windows within properties, or redevelopment of common areas within multi-storey buildings or perhaps shelter housing facilities. I would highlight that not all projects within this budget area are suitable for a participatory budgeting approach. However, for those that are, officers will ensure that an element of choice and voting opportunities are offered to our customers and appropriately recorded. So, to date in Hamilton Division, one participatory budgeting project is underway, and this is the ongoing improvement works that are taking place at the Shawlands Crescent Gypsy Traveller site, which is in line with our master plan that has been developed in close partnership with our residents. Following consultation with Shawlands Crescent residents through our regular site meetings, as well as individual discussions, it was agreed that the next stage of these improvement works would focus on a programme of amenity unit extensions and upgrades. I'm pleased to inform you that this work is almost complete, with the remaining pitches due to be finished by the end of March 2026. The total cost of this project to date in this financial year is just over £283,000. I'd like to thank you for your time this afternoon and hope that the information that I've provided has been helpful, and I'm happy to take any questions.
David, I have several questions here. Councillor Ross Clark.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you very much for the very helpful report. Less of a question, but first of all, more generally, our group, the SNP group, very supportive of the principle of participatory budgeting, about local communities and local residents having an influence over how money is spent in the area. Specifically, I would also like to welcome the work undertaken in the Larkhall ward. I can see here you've got Duncan Graham Street, and then you've got work done in Quarter. That's very much welcome. But I think also the Shawlands Crescent Gypsy Traveller site, you mentioned something very important in the papers, but also your report there about consultation and doing things in conjunction with the residents. I think we do some very good work in that area at the Gypsy Traveller site, and it sets sort of an example for other areas in Scotland. There's obviously still difficulties, and there's going to be difficulties, but I think we are doing well in overcoming those and engaging with the community. But going forward, that's very much an important principle. You know, across everything we do as a council, I think particularly when you're engaging with the Shawlands Crescent site and the Gypsy Traveller group, I think that's particularly important there. Thank you.
Thanks for that. David? You're no on. That's it.
Yep, thank you for your comments. I really appreciate them, and I just wanted to add, I think from a housing services perspective, we are proud of the work that we undertake at Shawlands Crescent. We would always look to improve how we can engage with any of our residents, but we meet quarterly at formal residents meetings on site at Shawlands Crescent, as well as individual visits and conversations we have with residents. We have newsletters that go out as well to our residents on site there, so we would always welcome feedback and how we can communicate with residents, but I think it's an area where we're proud of the work we undertake, whilst also looking to seek continuous improvement.
Thanks for that. Councillor Helen Toner.
Thanks, Chair. Again, just to sort of echo Ross's comments, I'm delighted at the work that's been done by yourself, David, and your colleagues. Rubbish is top of my list in my inbox, I'm afraid to say. Depends which way you want to take that. But so glad that you've done the work at Meeklernock Road. And I don't know if you were with the group, because I met people from the housing office down at William Drive and Jeanette Avenue to look at that piece of, can't remember if you were there yourself, David, but looking at the photos and driving by the area myself, that's a ton of work that's been done there, and I know the residents are really appreciative of it. And again, to sort of jump on Ross's, the play park in Furnace Road at Quarter is one that my children still frequent, to be honest. And again, that's made such a difference, that fence being replaced at the back of that. So just my thanks to you and your team once again. Thank you so much.
Thanks for that, Helen. David?
Yeah, thank you again for the comments. I'd just like to highlight again some of these projects, not all. There is an element as well of trying to spend to save on some of them that were, you know, in terms of that area at Jeanette Avenue, it was costing us a significant amount of money coming out the housing revenue account of getting regular clear-outs. So we're undertaking that work. It's a small cost up front to hopefully save as well as improve the life of residents round about. So I suppose there's a dual purpose to some of the projects that we do carry out.
Okay, thanks for that. Councillor Maureen Chalmers.
Thanks, Chair. Thank you. Thank you, David, for your report. Thank you. I'm just wondering about the actual PB process and how you ensure that people know how to engage and know how to take part in any participatory budgeting process, and how they raise matters with you. I know we don't have perhaps as many tenants groups and associations maybe as we used to have years ago, but how do people engage with you, and is there anything we can do to help you to promote this?
No, thanks for asking that. And I think whilst others were doing the reports, I'd actually scribbled down some notes because I did think actually the reports may be missing a part about how we engage with residents, maybe how specifically some of these ideas have came about. So just from my kind of knowledge and involvement, a lot of these projects have been led from a number of things. Key ones are walkabouts that we carry out, particularly over the kind of summer and autumn period in local areas where you've got local residents, other services, elected members attending, and through doing that walkabout, you tackle a particular area, you look at it, and there is these projects that are identified. Other ways that these residents engage with are through tenants and residents associations. I would like to see more of them, and we do actively encourage. We've got an officer that can assist with setting up groups, so when there is residents contacting us, suggest improvements in the area, we'll maybe work with them on one project and then see if there is that appetite for developing a tenants and residents association. I can think of Bunbley Gardens recently, where we've got a kind of group off the ground over the past couple of years, and that has been positive. I actually believe there's a kind of open day, a fun day they're having at the weekend, so it's good to see things like that come to fruition, as well as some of the hubs that take place across certain areas. I believe that was mentioned earlier in the meetings. Some work that our housing officers do down at the Burnbank Family Centre, just our general inspections that our housing officers carry out on a quarterly basis, get out, being visible in the community, speaking to their residents and finding out what's important to our customers. And probably the final element of that is just general inquiries that we receive day to day through our customers or directly from elected members, is where some of these ideas can come from. So it's a long-winded way of saying there's probably 5, 6, 7 different ways that these projects come to us. Probably the hardest part is deciding what to spend the money on. And certainly we've already got a kind of list of ones that we want to tackle for the next financial year.
Okay, thanks for that. Councillor David McLaughlin.
Thank you, Chair. And David, thank you very much for that report and for all that positive work that's been done there. A couple of things. Shawlands, I had the privilege of, when I took up my role, first of all, in 2022 as Chair of Housing and Technical Resources, I was up at Shawlands at the launch of the refurb and all the fantastic work that had taken place there. So it's really good that that had taken place, and then in such a short period of time, we've got this additional investment. Now that's fantastic news for the community that live at Shawlands. So, and I met a lot of the people when I went there, and they were extremely happy with it. They work really well with officials, as you pointed out, regular meetings, and there's a really good rapport there. So it's excellent to see that work continuing. So thank you. And the word proud, you mentioned the word proud there, and and I think it's worth noting that when you hear that coming from an official, you know, elected members are the people who we get elected by the communities, and we answer to their complaints and things, you know, and it's not very often you get positive feedback because it's just the nature of the job, but it's good to hear somebody in your position speak the way that you have. So again, thank you very much for that. I really do appreciate it, as a local member and as chair of the Housing and Technical Resources Committee. On the Castle Street, you mentioned on the report there about the Castle Street and Grammar School Square. When was that fencing put in there, David?
It should be happening as we're speaking just now,
Right.
Because we're obviously pushing for year end. So the project was approved about 3 months ago. So just in terms of it being queued for the works to take place, it's happening this week. So I believe there's people on site just now carrying that out.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if my colleague sitting across here has feedback. I've not had any sort of local sort of approach. I've had approaches about different issues within the Old Town area there, but I just wonder where, you know, it says here you get feedback from residents. And Colin, have you had Colin shaking his head? So there you go. So residents have been making direct communication with the housing department. So again, thanks very much for that proactive work. Thank you.
Thanks for that. Okay.
Thanks for your comments, Councillor McLaughlin. Just in terms of the approaches for the Old Town, it was following the journey cycles that the housing officer was carrying out in the area, and I think it was 3 or 4 different residents at that point had spoken to them about the kind of fencing at the stairwell. So that's where we get costings following that discussion.
Okay. Councillor Mary Donnelly.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks, David, for your report and a lot of the participatory budgeting. I think it's great for that going forward. I'd like to see more of it, and as already has been said, for communities to know how to access that. And I think one way of doing that is by, and I do the walkabouts with you, is possibly leafleting where we've not got a tenant residents association. I'm thinking of Kelvin Gardens in my area, and I'm at the moment in the process of setting up residents and tenants with Jonathan Reid and with a woman called Hannah, who is an officer to do that and help groups. So I'm doing that in a few areas in my place, in my ward. But I think that is the voice of the communities there, and that is the voice for them accessing participatory budgeting, knowing what's going on and telling us what they're wanting, because that's the groups I go to, and they direct me in what they're wishing for me to do. And that's the way I operate, as a bottom-up. So what I would like out of all that garbage, no garbage, but out of all that I'm saying, what I'm really looking for is, when we're doing the walkabouts, it was really quite useful to be leafleting these areas that haven't got a residents tenants association and saying, here are the bullet points, here's what you could do, you could get a resident tenants association set up. This is what it would give you. It would also give them access to grants, different things. You know the leaflet I'm looking at. So I think that might be a positive going forward, David, in order to get accessing the community and getting them engaged. Thank you.
No, I would agree with your comments. I think, as I said earlier, we're always keen to get, particularly tenants and residents group, because they're specific, they're focused, they're local, they're about, they're about a particular outcome that matter to people. So we've got obviously our schedule of walkabouts that we're working on for the summer of this year. So it's maybe an approach we could trial in one or two of the localities to see what is the effect of either a leaflet drop, or maybe we could invite our officer that we work with at TIS to see if maybe they could be involved to assist with that, to speak to specific people. But there's other work we also undertake. For example, whenever a new tenant signs up to a new property, at that sign up, a section of that appointment is dedicated to discussing how you can get involved. And that can be through a number of different ways that the person feels comfortable with. But one of them is about trying to get more tenants and residents group established. And just in addition to that, another thing we do is, if we have a complainer or somebody that's unhappy a particular aspect to a service, what we try and do is work with that person, obviously resolve their particular issue, but try and bring them in. If there's an issue that they feel passionately about, is rather than being pitted against each other, can we maybe work together? Can we get others involved? They can be a voice that can help get others involved in a particular matter. But yes, that's an approach we can trial across this summer.
Okay, thanks for that. With no further questions, do we agree to note the report? Agreed. Okay, thanks, David, if you want to. Cheers, thank you. We go on to item 6, the Hamilton Common Good Fund update, pages 17 to 24. Graham Booth to speak. Graham.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, members. The purpose of this report is to provide an update on the Hamilton Common Good Fund, and well, I'll be mainly providing a financial update today. I appreciate there might be some operational queries around any of the projects I mentioned, which I'm happy to try and answer myself, or I'll take back to other officers within the council and get back to members. So at section 6, we're detailing the financial position for the year ended up last year, 31st of March 25, and the audited accounts for the Hamilton Common Good accounts formed part of the council's accounts that were approved at the Risk and Audit Scrutiny Committee on the 30th of September last year. Appendix 1 shows that at the end of 2024-25, the balance invested in South Lanarkshire Council's loan fund for Hamilton was £775,000. At section 7, just at the bottom of page 18, we're providing an update on the fund, and the balance, as I say, invested is 775,000. And as well as the cash balances, the Hamilton Common Good Account also holds the assets, and these are detailed in Appendix 2 for information. And a summary of the income and expenditure for 24-25 is shown in Table 1 on the top of page 19. At section 7.4, underneath the table, we're noting the repairs and maintenance costs incurred during the year in relation to the refurbished entrance gates for the Children's Play Park entrance at Bothwell Road Park. And at section 7.5, there's a further breakdown of the 67,000 in relation to the payments to other bodies, which includes our grants to voluntary organisations, contributions to civic events and grounds maintenance. At sections 8.3 and 8.4, we're outlining the two commitments against the planned maintenance budget of 15,000 for this financial year. And funding of just under 5,000 was approved to cover the costs incurred for repairs to the footpath and bridge at Cadzow Glen, which are now complete, and the removal of the old boardwalk will cost a maximum of 3,000 and has also been approved. And in addition, there was a cost of 1,750 approved in order to carry out investigative work to identify the cause of flooding on the main entrance pathway to the gatehouse. At section 9, we're outlining the additional funding requests for the Hamilton Common Good Fund and providing a bit of an update on the various strands of that. So sections 9.2 to 9.7 provide an update on the former Vogue Bingo site. And following the serving of the dangerous building notice back in June last year, the application was made to Historic Environment Scotland to remove the listed building designation. Well, no relevant objections were received and the application was approved. So the demolition of the building is ongoing, a budgeted cost estimated at 150,000. And following demolition, it is proposed that a fence and landscaped edge will be created while redevelopment options for the site are considered. At section 9.8, we're providing information on Hamilton Town Square, and again 100,000 was approved, a contribution from the Common Good Fund, and works are taking place through our council's capital programme this financial year, and that will take the project forward to the next stage. And at section 9.9, we're summarising the overall financial position of the fund with a balance of just over 500,000 remaining after the variance commitments have been taken account of. So I would then refer committee back to recommendation section 2 that the background information and update on the Hamilton Common Good Fund be noted. Happy to take any questions, Chair. Thank you.
Councillor Collins, your question.
Thanks, Chair. The planned maintenance and additional funding requests, I would like to welcome all four of these. They all happen to fall within Ward 17. Specifically on two of them, in terms of the Cadzow Glen, the usage of funds for repairs to the Glen and works to remove the damaged section of boardwalk as required is very welcome. The new bridge that's been installed to cross the burn has successfully reopened the pathway through the Glen in full after a long period of pretty much me asking for updates from officers, and I very much thank the officers for their work in getting these repairs completed. On the Vogue site itself, as Graham mentioned, the demolition works are now underway, and the only thing I've got to say on that is I really look forward to proposals for sensible reuse and redevelopment of the site to hopefully come forward in the near future. Thanks.
Thank you for your comments, Councillor. As I say, I will take back just your comments in terms of the officers on the Cadzow Glen there. And yeah, the Vogue site, as I say, once the demolition is complete, like I said, that will be created well. The redevelopment options are considered for future. And just to clarify as well that the land, as I said, that's on, I think we clarified previously, is still common good land. So again, just in terms of anything that's done thereafter, obviously would take notice of that.
Okay. I don't see any further questions. Do we agree to note the report? Agreed. Okay, thanks very much, Graham. We come to items for decision. Number 8, community grant applications. Item 7, forward programme for future meetings, 25 to 28. Laura?
It's just to remind members that any proposed topics can be emailed to myself for future meetings. And just to note the report, Chair. Thanks.
Okay, do we agree to note that? Yeah. Item 8, items for decision, community grant applications, page 29 to 32. Laura, to speak.
So, Chair, it's just the community grants again in terms of 6 this time round. Obviously, the report recommends that we give 60%, but if that's up for discussion.
Okay. Does the committee agree to agree the award amounts normated, recommended?
Sure.
Councillor Colin Dewar.
Thanks, Chair. Don't worry, I'm not going to do what I normally do. On this occasion, the SNP Group won't move for full amounts due to the Agreement Executive Committee for use of the estimated 40,000 underspend and providing that money to food banks across South Lanarkshire. I certainly welcome this as appropriate use of these monies as opposed to previous years when it just went back into reserves. So, thanks.
Okay. Councillor Ross Clark.
Thank you, Chair. Just to follow on from my colleagues' comments, obviously it's taken a while for us to get to this position, but the use of that funding towards food banks is obviously a very welcome thing because it's obviously a very, very good cause. Can yourself, as Chair and a senior member of the administration, on behalf of your administration, say whether this will be repeated next year with the underspend from the community grants going towards food banks?
I would imagine it will be under review to see how this goes this year.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we agree to approve the report? Agree. Okay. I don't have any note of any other urgent business. I'd like to thank the members for attending and the staff for their input. Thank you. She's got a head copy. Should have been done with it. Oh, you're right. Need to put proposal for next year from 60 to 80%. But the chairs need to